We are here with Jimmy Pitaro, president of ESPN. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
So you've been leading the company for more than a year. You've brought stability back to the network. You've overseen the launch of ESPN Plus, the streaming subscription service. ESPN saw operating income grow in the last quarter. Would it be fair to say you're experiencing a turnaround?
I wouldn't characterize it as a turnaround. I would characterize it as consistent progress. And we've been very clear. Our mission is serve the sports fan anytime, anywhere. And that includes, some core basic principles. My job is to provide clarity. When we first started, I sat down with the team and I said, let's give our group of employees 3 or 4 areas to really focus on. And so we honed in on direct to consumer. You mentioned ESPN Plus, huge priority for not just ESPN but the Walt Disney Company. Expanding our audience, being more relevant to a younger generation, being more relevant to women. And so we have all hands on deck in that department. And then innovating, which is really has been part of the DNA of ESPN for 40 years. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary this September. But if you ask me what really defines ESPN, it's innovation. Being the first in the sports industry, trying new things, not being afraid to fail, but learning and getting better.
All right, so let's talk about one of the innovations, of course, which is the streaming business.
Yes.
What can you tell me about the 2 million plus subscribers to ESPN Plus? Are they younger than ESPN viewers? Do they have the basic cable package? What are they watching when they're streaming? Yeah,
so far so good. We are at, we announced several months ago that we exceeded 2 million subscribers. We feel really good about that. At the same time, this really is the first inning for us. And every deal that we're negotiating right now, we are looking at how do we acquire rights not just for the linear package, but for ESPN Plus. And so over the past couple of weeks, we've announced a few new deals. AAC, the Big 12 network, I'm sorry, the Big 12 conference. And so I would expect that you will continue to see more deals where we are acquiring rights for that platform. In terms of our prioritization, you mentioned it, yes, we are trying to attract a younger audience. We're trying to attract a younger audience on air, but we're also running parallel paths here where we're trying to create products like ESPN Plus that speak directly to that younger generation. And we feel we're onto something with ESPN Plus.
Can you take more risks when you're building an audience than when you're trying to retain one? I wonder how much more experimenting there is when it comes to ESPN Plus.
No, that's a great question. Obviously, when you're on air, when you're on traditional television, everyone is seeing the same thing. The promise of the internet is right content to the right user at the right time. You and I can get different things. My 15-year-old son and I can experience different things within the ESPN app or on ESPN Plus. So that is the luxury that we have. We can present a different experience to different people at the right time. And so we're starting to see that play out right now through our digital offerings.
Talk about some of the specific partnerships that you're looking to ensure ESPN Plus is in touch with the younger audience. Your 15-year-old son, for instance, top-ranked bank boxing, for instance, is one of them.
So top combat, I would bundle it into combat. So top-ranked boxing, UFC, we signed 2 deals with them over the past year. And definitely, much younger audience. If you look at the UFC audience, I believe it's right around, the average age is right around 40. And so we like that. NBA has a younger audience. So we have this massive partnership with the NBA. We'd love to do more with them, not just for traditional television, but also for our digital offerings.
Okay. At what point would you have visibility into whether revenue growth from streaming and programming expansion can offset any TV subscriber losses that you've been experiencing? What's the tipping point there?
Yeah, so look, we are, like I mentioned before, our goal is to run parallel paths here. We want to provide as many access points to our content as possible. So we have this traditional TV business, which is still in the vast majority of U.S. households and still offers great value to the customer. At the same time, we're putting a lot of resources and a lot of investment into our direct-to-consumer business, ESPN Plus. And so we're super excited about what's happening on the direct-to-consumer side. We are running these parallel paths, and we want to make sure that our customer has as many access points to our content.
How will ESPN Plus be integrated into Hulu, which Disney now has control over?
Yeah, so we're looking at across the Walt Disney Company, in terms of the direct-to-consumer environment, we have 3 different products, 2 of which are in market right now. As you mentioned, Hulu, ESPN Plus, of course, and then the Disney Plus product that will launch this fall. So we're, ultimately we will get to a scenario where we will present a bundle to the customer. We want to take the friction out of the process, and we want to make sure that it is as easy as possible to get access to all 3 products.
Let's talk a little bit about sports rights, because the modern economics of sports is built on the idea that live sports rights only go in one direction, and that is to go up. Is there any evidence that that's changing, that it's stalling?
So look, there's a lot more competition today than there has been in the past. We all know that. You have Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, the FANGs.
Right.
Some of them are already making investments in the sports space. You have new sports startups that are investing in the space.
They're not necessarily bidding for NFL games yet, though.
Well, they're not available right now, right? So we don't know what's going to happen when they do become available. But they are well funded. Even the smaller startups, they are well funded, and they are being quite aggressive in the space. So that being said, we've always had competition. ESPN has always had competition, and we have the best rights acquisition team in the industry. We take a lot of pride in the discipline we have in terms of going out there and acquiring rights. We're pretty confident in terms of the value that we present to our partners. If you ask me what are our top priorities, included in that list would be league relationships, our partner relationships. And so my job is to make sure that we are continuing to develop, cultivate, build out those relationships, so that when we do sit down at the table, these partners want to be in business with us. And when you look at the Walt Disney Company in general, I really like our hand. We have ESPN. We have all the networks that make up ESPN. We have ABC. We have the synergy that the Walt Disney Company brings across other businesses like theme parks, et cetera. We have the best production team in the business. The promotion, the quality of content that our league partners get from us is unmatched, in my opinion.
So there's a lot to leverage there, certainly. I know you're a data guy. You rely on data to make your decisions.
Correct.
How do you interpret the data from Disney's sale of the Fox regional sports networks for less than what the market expected? Does it suggest that sports rights may have peaked and they're going to start going down?
Look, first off, the ESPN team was not involved in the RSN sale.
Sure.
That was a process that was run by the Disney corporate team, and for good reason. There's strict regulatory guidelines, and so as a result, that process was run by that group. I will tell you that I think that sale demonstrates the power of live sports. And just to back up for a second, if you look at a world where so many things are in decline, look at live sports. A couple of examples. Major League Baseball last year was up on ESPN. NFL was up 8%, in fact. UFC has been up over 100% for us year over year. College hoops was up 15 or 16% for us. So in this world of live events, we're actually seeing consistent growth across our key categories. So I believe that live sports will continue to be valuable. And we are very interested, as I mentioned before, we are very interested in continuing to acquire live rights, not just for our traditional platform like television, but for also our direct-to-consumer business. I
don't question the value of the live sports, but is there a chance that fees could actually go down, though, for some of those assets? For instance, in non-Power 5 conferences. I mean, because obviously it's in your interest to an extent for the fees to go down, because it costs you a tremendous amount.
I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know the answer to that. I will tell you that the power of live sports is incredibly apparent, and I don't believe that only applies to the major sports like NFL, Major League Baseball, and NBA. I believe that also applies to what you could arguably call some of the more niche sports, especially as these platforms are popping up that are very focused on aggregating rights for those smaller conferences, those smaller leagues.
All right, let's talk about esports, because obviously this is an area of tremendous growth.
Yeah.
Revenue projected to top $1 billion globally this year. clearly the domain of a younger audience. How do you look to make it more relevant to a broader sports audience?
Yeah, no, look, that's a great question. Again, going back to my point before on audience expansion, if you ask me the levers that we can pull, esports is definitely one of them. That being said, we have been in this space for many years. We have a vertical on ESPN.com that is focused on esports that, by the way, is growing 20 to 30% year over year in terms of reach and engagement. So we are hyper-focused on this area. We partnered with Activision last year for their finals last summer, and we saw incredible reach, incredible engagement across our various platforms. So we are all in. Just a couple of weekends ago, we launched our Collegiate Esports Championship, which did quite well for us. You will continue to see us invest in this esports category, primarily because we feel like it's an opportunity to reach that younger audience. And to your point, not just reach the younger audience in terms of the core gamer, but also reach the younger audience that might be interested from a casual perspective. So we have a partnership with Madden. And so the idea there is, okay, let's attract our core NFL fan and introduce him or her to gaming content on ESPN. That feels like a natural extension to us.
Okay, so cross-pollination essentially.
Exactly.
Let's talk about sports betting. What is ESPN doing to capitalize on the wave of legalized sports betting that is now out there? Yeah,
so our focus is on news and information. Going back, we serve the sports fan anytime, anywhere. That includes the sports fan that's interested in being more educated on sports betting. We have a show that we just launched called The Daily Wager. It's on ESPN News. It runs 5 days a week. And it's a show that feels like it's been on, quite frankly, for 5 years. We take a lot of pride in that. I would expect that you will see more and more of that type of programming across not just ESPN News, but across our other shows. So Scott Van Pelt at midnight has a sports center that has been covering sports betting for years through a segment called Bad Beats. We have a podcast. We have an ESPN Plus show. We are heavily invested in this space already, but again, our focus is serving the sports fan with news and information. We are not a book. We are not going to be taking people's money.
Okay, now one small part of the massive Disney and Fox deal is that Disney now owns a stake in the fantasy sports betting site DraftKings through one of the Disney subsidiaries. Bob Iger has made it really clear that he does not see Disney getting into the business of gambling. But is there room for ESPN and DraftKings to work closely?
So we acquired that stake as a part of the 21st Century Fox acquisition. It's a minority stake. Bob has been consistent. I've been consistent on this point. We, within our own properties, are not a sports book. We are not taking people's money. Our focus on our own properties is serving the sports fan with quality content, quality news, quality information with personality, and that will not change. Now,
Fox Sports plans to launch a betting app in conjunction with the Stars Group. Could you see down the road doing something similar?
So, no. We've been pretty clear. We do not have any plans to take people's money or to be a book.
Okay. The analytics and the data, though, that you can get from the ownership in DraftKings could be incredibly valuable as you build out your content as it relates to fantasy betting and sports betting.
Right.
What do you plan to do with that?
So in terms of the analytics, the data, that is exactly why direct-to-consumer is such a huge priority for us. In fact, if you were to ask me, within ESPN and across ESPN and the direct-to-consumer and international segment, our number one priority right now is direct-to-consumer, and that's in part because we want access to that customer. We want that data. So I would say, if you bring this back to our focus on news and information, serving the sports fan, including in the betting space, we can generate that data through our custom programming, through a show like Daily Wager, or if we were to take a show and put it on our direct-to-consumer platform, we can generate that data that way.
Got it. Final question to you, Jimmy. I know that you spoke this week at a sports Emmy event honoring Dick Vitale. And of course, Dick said he wants to be announcing basketball games until he's 100 years old. Are you ready to let him do that on ESPN?
We love Dick. He's, look, when we think about ESPN at its best, Dick comes to mind. He's Mount Rushmore for ESPN. And, yes, I had an opportunity to speak at that event. And what I said to him is, we take so much pride in having him a part of this team. And we expect him to be a part of this team for a long time.
All right, Jimmy Pitaro, president of ESPN, thank you so much.
Thank you.